Prime Minister is globe-trotting to find new and expanding markets for Canadian business, given the current climate with our largest trading partner to the south. In this Zoomcast, we are going to discuss Mexico. Mexico is a South America, actually Middle American country, and
It's
Northern
North
American
America.
country, Northern
It's North
American
America.
country. Oh my goodness, my geography is way off here. They have a population of about 135 million people, a GDP of around 2.03 trillion dollars in US dollars, which is just about the GDP of Canada. So, where are the trade opportunities? What does Mexico have that we need? What do we have that Mexico needs? Of course, right now we are under a free trade agreement with Mexico, but there's all kinds of other opportunities that are there to help us with the good, the bad, and the ugly of doing business in Mexico and other jurisdictions outside of Canada is Peter Hawkins. Peter is the Senior Vice President for Mellow Hawk Logistics, a company that provides end-to-end shipping logistics around the globe. He's an award-winning entrepreneur and the chair of the Mississauga Board of Trade International Trade Committee. And he joins me today. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much, Dave. Happy to be here.
Peter, Mexico is one of the partners in our trilateral free trade agreement, which we know is right now is in jeopardy because of our friends to the south in Washington. The president is holding it up. Our prime minister has said, "Well, listen, when you're ready to chat, let's chat. But in the meantime, I'm going to find some other places to do business." So, Peter, when we talk about Mexico and we think about the North American Free Trade Agreement, which became CUSMA or USMCA or whatever you want to call it, it may be on the chopping block to go into that year after year review and expire altogether in 2036. So, how do we, as a Canadian business, how do we get to Mexico and start doing business directly with Mexico, maybe on items that are not included in the free trade agreement?
Well, first of all, on the free trade agreement, is still in place. And so, and the negotiations that are happening in 2026 are a review, a mandated review, and to see if everybody's happy with the way it's working. Clearly, all the indications are that the Americans are not happy, and so it would be there would be future negotiations to tighten it up and make things better. The big fear, of course, is should the Americans decide to pull out entirely, which is on the table, then it's over. Our hope is, of course, that it does continue for the next to the 2036, and we keep assessing its value, and obviously the value is really important. With Mexico, on the items that are covered by free trade, a lot of people say, the documentation is just so hard. But the documentation is not hard. Once again, I always say hire a professional, get somebody else to assess what your HS code, what your Incoterm is, and all that stuff to make sure that you can deliver your goods. But I will tell you that in aerospace, automotive, food and beverage, clean technologies, mining to some extent, ICT, digital technologies, any kind of infrastructure, all of those kinds of business sectors are totally covered by CUSMA and are ready for business. And many companies right off the bat deal with those industries from Mississauga, and this is a great opportunity for them to take advantage of it. What has happened, I think, is a lot of people hang on to their old perception of what Mexico is. And Mexico is modern, creative, dynamic, remarkably wealthy, and the people who want to do business with you want to do professional, conscientious business. And again, Canada's having a moment, Mexico's having a moment that we should be looking at each other and being partners. Politically, Mexico has gone on its own routine on a couple of things, and so that'll be interesting to watch. But everybody still wants to do business. The ultimate goal is to still do business. With that in mind, I think the best thing that people could do is understand that you do need to do your certificate of origin when you're shipping to a country that has a preferential status when it comes to tariffs, and but make sure that you understand what origin actually means. If you brought parts from different parts of the world and assembled it here, what percentage, et cetera. And so, with that in mind, once you get a professional who's able to assess that, then you are able to make the sale. However, how do you make a sale? You go down, you go visit, and you don't try to get all these people to come visit you. Okay, you go visit them. Latins want to entertain you in their own home. So you go by home, they're not going to take you to your house, but you go to their country and you play ball and you show that you mean business. You do identify potential partners who can support you. You'll need a distribution network. You will need somebody who can provide support if things go wrong or you need repairs or whatever. And you also need to make sure that everybody in the other country knows you're there for the long haul. A lot of North American uh, countries, or United States and Canada, are very guilty of showing up and then not sustaining it. And Canada, particularly, is guilty of showing up and making a great first impression and not doing any follow up. So, that whole bad boyfriend thing that I talk about all the time. But what I want to stress here is we have a trade agreement that actually does work. We have opportunities that we just haven't explored. If you haven't done business in Mexico, I challenge you and say you haven't tried because it is there and it's available. Now, Dave, you
And
actually,
Peter,
yeah,
when we talk about our free trade agreement, just because our friends in the U.S. don't want to play ball, doesn't mean that that's interrupted the free trade agreement in Mexico, correct?
it has not. And let me just put one other thing in there. The United States is still our biggest customer, and there are plenty of people in the United States who want to be our customer. And so we should absolutely be maintaining and trying to please our current customers. And I'm talking about our actual customers. I'm not talking about the political elite, but I mean our actual customers, trying to deliver the best possible service and product we can to them, keeping in mind as we expand the opportunities, we go ahead and look at Mexico and say, great, we can do something. Now, there are plenty of trade missions going from every province and from in many different business sectors going down to Mexico because there is free trade and trying to expand the connections, make the connections. You've got some tremendous advantages. You've got a flight that is, 4 hours max. You have a flight that's 4 hours max. You have same time zone. That's huge. You can deliver right away. So you can provide a lot of the telephone service from here. It is only when you need to have the physical hands-on service, you need somebody local. Spanish is not hard to find Spanish speakers here so that you need to service in their own language. Although, once again, younger people speak English. They've all been brought up on video games, and so they speak English and they know how
And
to do that.
and Peter, I've been to Mexico enough. I've actually picked up the Spanish. I will say that the people in Mexico, if you make an attempt, they really appreciate it. I mean, it's not like going to some other countries where you try to speak the language and they give you the poo poo and answer you in English. They're very very kind. I've been on both coasts of Mexico, but many people are still concerned about safety. We know if you go to Mexico City has the same population of all of Canada, and there's a lot of people in Mexico, but they're very very nice. There's certain places you go, certain places you don't go. What's your opinion of the safety in Mexico when you travel there on
It,
business?
it's funny because on business, I find that I'm in a whole world that is protected. They know enough to protect tourists. They know enough to protect business people. So I have never felt at risk in any of those places. I do speak enough of the language that I can get by. I do understand my surroundings all the time. A couple of little tips that I would do is in business, always make sure that you are in an elevator with someone else. And that is also because of corruption, not necessarily crime in the way we were imagining it. I found that I was in many other countries, and that was a real secret to not being, people try to isolate you and get you alone to have a conversation. And this is not just Mexico, this is, the world. And what you
Yeah.
want to do is not be alone with someone. Okay. You don't want that private conversation with a government official. You want to make sure that one of your assistants is with you all the time. And that is something that I think is more concerning around the world because we have very serious laws about this. And we want to make sure we're protecting ourselves. The
And the most
Yeah.
important thing is if you want to do business in Mexico or any other jurisdiction outside of Canada, you have to get a professional, just like Peter Hawkins at Mellow Hawk. We've been in conversation with Peter Hawkins at Mellow Hawk. I'm David Wojcik for MBOT TV, and this has been your Zoomcast.